All right, Shalom. First off, I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father's true name, Yahweh Shai being the name of His only begotten Son. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles, the grand millstone, who rule well and teach well. And peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walking throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. All right, this is the brother Masha, my Yummo, and the men here with the GMS branch out here in the morning camp. Here with another lesson through the Spirit, and pretty much, it's going to be a quick precept I came across in the book of Proverbs, and which is what we're going to start off with. But pretty much just going into, really just going into, how being among brethren. We're just going to read the precept and then I'm going to explain. This is Proverbs, and it's a classic precept, brothers have brought out many times, but, I figured I'd do a quick lesson on it. This is Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 17. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Okay? And when you read it in the NLT, it says, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. Right? Actually, let me see real quick. It was another translation I read that actually popped out. I think it might have been the NIV. But yeah, just pretty much going there, how being among Akim, okay, and basically, dwelling among each other, all right, and being in the scriptures, discussing things, and just speaking through the Spirit, okay, these things sharpen you, all right. Every single time, we brothers are among each other, the scriptures are being brought out, and Jake discussing different things, making points on things they might have experienced or went through throughout the week, right? And just different things and points being brought out. These things, you know, keep us, keep our minds sharp, okay? Different ideas being expressed, right? Which is good for us, you know. From here, let's get the book of Psalms chapter 133 and starting at the top, and it reads, a song of degrees of David, behold how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Okay. So in the same mind, being in the same mind, speaking the same things, okay, right? And it's really a comfort too, because we're all the ones that believe in this truth, we're all vexed with, the filthy conversation of this world. Okay. A lot of the things that go on that be spoken about, things that you come across, right? It's really a whole lot of, vexation, but being among the Akim, and, when you are actually among brethren that are in the same mind, okay, the different things that are broken or, spoken about, it brings a comfort and uplifts your spirit, you know. From here, let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 18 and verse 20. All right, because even in that, this is what the Lord said himself. This is Matthew chapter 18 and verse 20. It reads, for where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. All right. So where two or three are gathered in the name of the Lord, okay, the Lord is right there in the midst of them. Okay. That's why the Spirit is always hot, when brothers are among each other. Okay. Because ultimately the Spirit of the Lord, okay, is among there. All right. And it's dealing, to where Jake is able to bring out different precepts. All right, or speak different things, through the Spirit. All right. And this is all really, okay, to comfort one another, okay, to uplift each other, okay, because hey, that's really needed, okay. Now of course, through the Spirit, it's different brothers, uh, it's different brothers that, might be camping on their own, okay, and the spirit is still God in them, how is God in them, but a lot of times, hey, you need to get around brothers, right? A lot of times you need to get around brothers, to be uh refreshed, okay, to be uplifted, okay, right, to be put in the same direction that the spirit is pointing us, to move in, right? So from here, let me also get let's get the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 4 and verse 11, and it reads, again, if two lie together, then they have heat, but how can one be warm alone, right? And using this, applying it to getting heat through the spirit, all right, and you get around brothers and you're discussing different things, that's how you're able to get, ideas for lessons, right? An idea for lesson, all right? Sometimes brothers will be speaking through the spirit, and the brother will say something, and it's like they'll say, that's a lesson idea right there, okay? But that's how you get that heat, that's how you get that fire, okay? And that's why a lot of the times brothers will say, man, or brothers will explain they weren't able to they felt like they needed to get around Akim to get that heat, meaning what? To, get that fire through the spirit, to get that motivation, right? And that's really the benefits of being, a body in this thing. And that's how the Lord designed it for a reason, okay? And these scriptures explain and show why that is, you know? From here, let's also get the book of First Thessalonians. First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 11, and it reads, wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as you also do. Okay? But it said, comfort yourselves together and edify one another, And that word edify, when you go into it, it means to build up, right? Let's actually go into it. Edify, to build up from the foundation, metaphor. Man. Definition B, it says to promote growth, all right, in Christian wisdom. Now we know, the word Christian really just means the followers of the anointed, okay, and that's really what the elect embody, right? But it says to promote growth, all right, and it also means to build up as well. It might have been another definition, but this one just this one hit as well, all right, because being among each other, edifying one another, bringing these scriptures out, motivating each other to move forward. Hey, this is what promotes that growth, right? But it says to grow in wisdom and piety, okay? So, but it says, wherefore comfort yourselves together with these words. Wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another. What do we edify ourselves with? Okay. Let me try to find that real quick. Because I think it's another precept that says, comfort yourselves with these words, I think. Right. This is First Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 18, and it reads, wherefore comfort one another with these words. Okay. What words is it? The words of these scriptures. All right. The words of the Bible. So, the scriptures also say all things from the foretime were written for our learning. Okay. That we through patience and comfort, right, of the scriptures might have hope. So being among each other, speaking these things, this is what brings that comfort, that growth, that refreshment. Okay. And that's what keeps us sharp, But that's the point, It was really inspired off of that Proverbs 27, going into a iron sharpeneth a man, and that's really what we do through the spirit when we're among each other, But that's the point. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakudash, double honors unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walking throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and sincerity. Shalom.